In my recent video comparing coarse Waterstones and specifically the King G45, a viewer asked me about these bases on Waterstones. Let's talk about that. Why do some of these Waterstones come with bases? Are there advantages to it? Are there disadvantages to it? Just for reference, I've been a knife nut for 30 years. I've only been interested in Waterstone sharpening for about 4 years. So a lot of this stone coming with base, I think, is an older idea. I think in general, people don't like it, and so manufacturers are moving away from it. So I don't know what all the history is behind this transformation. Hopefully, some of you who have more experience and historical knowledge about this can weigh in. If you know some of that, I would appreciate it. You can teach me something. I think the idea behind companies making these stones come with a base is that if all you have is a table and you try to sharpen on the table, your knuckles hit. See, my knuckles hit right here, and I can't get the blade to touch, so I'd have to hold the knife in an unstable way. It's really hard for me to get the knife to engage the stone the way I want without just choking way up and just holding it with my fingers, which is really unstable, and the knife will wobble. So when you sharpen, you want a pretty good grip on the knife, and your knuckles will hit the table, so you kind of need some clearance. So you need to set the stone on something. You could use wood, you could use a block or something just to get the stone up. That would totally be sufficient. If all you have is a chunk of wood, you could totally do that and set the stone on there and sharpen it. You'd probably be fine. But with just a little tiny bit of base, I can get my knife on there. This knife has a brand new edge on it, and I don't want to scratch it. So if you want to sharpen and you have just a little bit of base, it makes all the difference in the world, and you can now touch your edge without your knuckles scraping. So it gives you clearance. So I suspect that back in the day, manufacturers thought, oh, these guys are just going to be sharpening on a workbench or a kitchen counter in a professional kitchen or something. They may be at a kitchen counter. Just take the stone on the base, set it down, you can sharpen, you're good to go. Nowadays, of course, everybody has some kind of a stone holder. There's many different kinds of these. They don't all even look like this, but this is a pretty common configuration, and these are not very expensive. You can get these for 15 to 20 bucks usually. So this is just the setup I have. I use this tray to catch the water. If this thing fit in the tray by itself, I probably wouldn't need this, but it doesn't. So I just use this block to give me extra clearance. And that's how I do it. If all I had was this block, in the situation I showed you at the beginning, you could just set the stone on there and sharpen with it, and it would give you enough clearance to avoid the knuckle problem. But this is the system I use. It's just my homemade system. It's how I do it. It works for me. So if I were to use this stone with me and my size and my height sitting at the table that I usually sit at to do this, this gives me just about the right comfort level. This is about the right amount of height increase. So this for me is good to go. So since most everybody nowadays has some kind of stone holder, you can even just set that directly on the table, and it would give you enough clearance to not have your knuckles hit. I could sharpen, my knuckles aren't hitting, my knuckles aren't touching at all. I could sharpen this and be good to go. So the invention of these has made it so these are obsolete, in my opinion. So that raises the question, why does anybody want to have these? Aside from being able to just set this on a surface and go, and you have the adequate clearance, that's the only benefit to having these stones, in my opinion. And I think, as I said, that's no longer necessary because now we have stone holders and there's other ways to prop your stone up. I don't think this is necessary anymore. The only other advantage that I can think of to having the stone on a holder is that when you wear the stone down and it starts to get really thin, it'll get worn down, but eventually the stone will become kind of brittle. And when it gets really worn down, this base probably does give it some added strength in terms of not snapping in half. But some portion of this stone goes down into this crack. I can't use, there's a good millimeter or two of stone here that I can't get to because it's down in this crack. So these stone holders are annoying enough that many people, if they buy a stone, that the only way to get the stone is with an attached base. A lot of people go through great trouble to carefully and cautiously remove the stone from the base. There are videos on how to do that. I don't know how to do it. I've never tried it, but you should be able to find that. If you want to remove a stone from your base, there should be instructional videos on how to do that. What are some problems with these base type systems? Problem 1, size. Having this base type system dramatically increases the amount of space that this takes up on your countertop, in your storage area, and in your soaking tub. If you have a soaking stone, it takes up a lot of space. Space consideration number 1. Here I have 2 stones made by Nanawa. Same brand that makes this. Nanawa Chosera, it's the same thing. I'm gonna use this one because it's the 800 version, which is basically the same as this. This is a remade version of this. It's my understanding that when Chosera or Nanawa, several years ago, they changed the formula and manufacturing process of their stone. When they did it, they began removing the stone from the base, probably because people complained about it, and this is the result. So when you see Nanawa Pro, Nanawa Chosera Pro, they will be this size of a stone, and they will not come with the base. If you see one that just says Chosera Pro, without the word Nanawa attached to it, it may come with the base. When they redid their formula, I believe, I wasn't here in this part of the hobby for this part of the history, but it's my understanding that some people liked this formula better than this formula. So Nanawa / Chosera is still making these things, the old formula, and when they do that, you get the base. So I would rather if this didn't have the base. I have no reason to have the base, but if the base tells me that this is the old formula, that's the only way I can get it, so be it. When they redid the formula, both of these stones are quite new, by the way. There's very little wear on them. You can tell that the new one, the newer model, newer version, remade, new and improved, whatever, is actually smaller. It's not as thick, so you actually get less stone for your money. Otherwise, the overall footprint is the same. The other thing for me is I have an 800 grit, a 1000 grit with Japanese Waterstones. The higher you go in grit, the more expensive the stone. The lower you go in grit, the cheaper the stone. So these stones at this grit might be 60 or 70 bucks, maybe slightly more depending on where you buy them. So for me to get the version of this stone in this line, the Nanawa Chosera Pro line, for me to get the 3000 grit stone, the MSRP on that, it's about $123. Sometimes you can get them on sale. Currently, right now, I just looked it up today on Sharpening Supplies. They are on sale for about $99 for a 3000 grit stone. I got this Chosera Pro 3000 with the base, which is a slightly thicker stone, as we talked about. I got this for $80 to $85 off Amazon. So that saves me a lot of money. I assume I'm getting the old formula, which many people like and many people say is better than the new formula. The only way I can do that is with a base, and it saves me $20 or even $40. Totally okay with that. So this 3000 grit stone with the base and the old formula, I actually found it cheaper than I can get the new version. As you can see, these are big. I store these stones in a drawer in a tool box, chest kind of a thing. If you do that, make sure you dry them out very well. You don't want them to get moldy. But this stone also comes with this Nagura dressing stone. This is a very good size Nagura stone. It's quite large. So for this thing, I don't use this. It's just not part of my sharpening philosophy, but I could if I want, and it comes with it, so whatever. But for this stone to come cheaper and with an included Nagura stone for less money, that actually is a pretty good deal. So if I have to tolerate it being bigger, taking up twice as much space in my drawer, so be it. So these two Nanowatt Kyocera Pro stones, they're splash and go stones, so they don't require any soaking. You can just spritz them with a spray bottle or dribble a drop of water on there, and it doesn't just soak up the water. The water sits there, so you don't need to soak these stones. You can just splash them with a little bit of water and sharpen, and you're good to go. That's kind of important for me. When we consider these stones that have bases, it is relevant to me that it is a splash and go versus a soaking stone. Here's why. So this next issue is an issue specifically with soaking stones with bases on them. The first half of this again comes down to size. As I pointed out, every one of these stones with a base on it is much bigger than its alternative. These two bins here are the same exact size. They're identical bins, I use them both. This one I typically use to just keep my stones in it in a perma-soaking kind of state. I pretty much always keep this King 1000, 6000 in there, perma-soaking. Pretty much always keep this Amazon crappy piece of crap water stone in there, perma-soaking. This is a flattening stone. I pretty much keep it in there. This is a small flattening stone. Pretty much keep that in there. This is kind of a crappy Amazon type Nagura dressing stone. I really don't use it very much, but I did recently, so I just left it in there. These stones are pretty much always in here. And if I wanted to, I could take a whole nother stone. We'll just say Tana Hoodoo crappy Amazon stone. Let's just pretend I want to soak this and use it. There's room in this tub for me to add another stone. Maybe two, I could take one out, whatever, you get the point. I'll take him out so he's not distracting us with bubbles. I just took that Tana Hoodoo one out so it wasn't distracting us with bubbles. But let's say I want to sharpen with these two king stones. These are very thin. I could fit 6 or 8 of these in a tub like that. But if I want to sharpen with these, okay, not the end of the world. They don't take up too much room, but these two stones together should be taking up as much room as this stone right here. And they're taking up 2 or 3 times as much space. Because it's not just the fact there's a base here, it's the feet. So the base adds twice as much space. So the base adds twice as much space, but the feet add 3 times as much width as the actual stone does. So okay, now I want to sharpen with this Suhiro 3000. This thing is big. Look how big that is compared to the king ones. It's just a larger stone. It's a thicker stone. You get a lot more stone for your money, but it also has a significantly bigger base. So I want to sharpen with my Suhiro 3000. Issue 1, this water is already starting to fill up to the point from displacement of these stones that it's getting really full. And this stone kind of doesn't fit in there because the base is too tall. So I have to, whatever, angle it funny, whatever, it fits in there, it's fine. So as you can see, we're kind of getting to a point where I'm running out of room. So these bases take up a lot of space. They displace more water, so your water will overflow more easily. But as you can see, this particular stone, this turns us into issue number 2 with soaking stones. So issue 1 with soaking stones with bases is they take up more space. Issue 2 with soaking stones with bases is these bases hold water. So when it comes time for me to take this out, this is always a messy process, by the way. Every time you take one of these out, it's going to dribble water. You can reduce that a little bit by just rubbing it on the thing, and then you're not dribbling very much. A few drops. If I'm ready to sharpen with this one, give it a little rub. I'm still dribbling a lot of water because this base is holding a crap ton of water. So either when you take the stone out and put it in your area to sharpen, it just drags more water around. So it can be a little more messy depending on what your setup is like and how close you are to your water. And when you get done sharpening and you're ready to dry your stones out, these hold a lot of water. And so your dry out area is going to get more wet. Or if you're just using splash and go stones, you don't have to soak the base, and this whole issue that I'm showing you is not a problem. Suhiro, this one, water actually absorbs into the base of this thing. I don't know where it goes into. I don't know if there's something under the stone that I can't see. There are holes here. There are holes here. I don't know why. And I don't know if the water goes into there, but water actually goes into this thing and it stays there. And this thing takes forever to dry out because water actually goes in there. So that's kind of it's a real pain in the butt. Interestingly, this Suhiro 3000 is one of my favorite water stones of all time. The base makes it a little annoying. I have been tempted to try to find a version of it that does not have the base, but have not yet done so. So if stones come with bases, if they're splash and go, much more easy to deal with. They're still big, they're still cumbersome, they still take up a lot of room. But if stones come with bases and they're soaking stones, it's 3 times bigger of a deal. It takes up way more space in the tub, it creates way more mess, and can increase the dry time significantly. So if I'm sharpening with a stone that has a base on it, here's kind of how I deal with it. If it's a really small base like this one, it can fit in my stone holder like this, but sometimes that makes it too tall. It actually makes it just slightly higher than what I want. So if I don't think I can do that, I'll just flip my stone holder around, stick it on there, stick my base on there, it's stable enough. Now I can sharpen away like normal. No big deal, no problem. If the stone is big, then this also solves that problem. This might start making it to a point where it gets too tall for me, just because these are thick stones. This is quite a large base. So this might take some finagling. I would be okay sharpening at this height. Like I told you before, I can't just take this thing out because this thing doesn't fit in there. So I may have to just do away with my tray, find some other kind of a tray, get another extra towel or something, and that'll give me some clearance more to what I like. Or I could just do the stone by itself without having it on that. So now I have a big bin, like restaurant serving bin. I'm going to use this to simulate a sink. I wish I could sharpen at this bin full of water or at the sink, but I can't. I just can't sharpen standing up because it hurts my feet, hurts my back, hurts my neck. I'm getting too old. So we'll pretend that this is a sink slash bin setup where you use something called a sink bridge, which is this thing. So this bin would be full of water, or your sink would be full of water. You can have your stones here. You can just have your water right here. It contains all your mess. You have easy access to water. It's actually a very nice and convenient way to sharpen. I just can't do it because I can't sharpen standing up. If you have one of these things, you can actually just set it on your sink bridge and it's pretty stable. Dunk it in my water because it's splash and go. Put it on my sink bridge. Now I can sharpen away. So if you're using a sink bridge, these actually aren't as big a deal as long as they don't move on your sink bridge more than what you're okay with. The last complaint I have about these stones with bases is totally not functional at all in any way. It does not change the function of the stones at all. But it bothers me that it forces me to sharpen away the logo. Almost always, when given any opportunity, I will save the logo on my stones. Helps me know what they are, first off. Second off, I just think the logos are cool. So for example, on this stone, I will always sharpen on this side to try to save the logo. Now these, can't do it. So this 800 grit one, logo's been sharpened away. This one's still going. And I've used these very little, so logos are still going. But when I use these more, the logos will be gone and it'll be sad. So that's about it. I never prefer my stones to have a base on them. I don't like it. If I had any way around it, I would always buy one without a base. I can't think of any advantage to it, but I will tolerate it if I have to, but I'm always disappointed about it. Soaking stones are twice as big a deal to have it because they take up more space in your soaking area and they hold water, make a mess, dribble. It increases the dribble amount by a lot. Splash and goes, less of a big deal, but still big enough deal I would never choose it if I could avoid it. But if it's the only way to get the stone I want, I'm okay with it. But I'm always a little bit sad, or a lot sad, that bases are included. So that's what I have for you. If you guys have any more questions or problems, let me know. If you guys know more about the history of bases coming with stones and then being phased out, and specifically the Nanawa Pro history, would love to hear it. Thanks for watching.